And then the eighth type of transaction is reimbursement. Reimbursement, and this is typically in yuan. And this is the one that the transaction that actually is 2 pages, page 8 and page 9. You'll include when you do a reimbursement transaction. Page 8 initially, and then page 9 after you've made your purchases. You'll attach your receipts as we described and submit that again. So note on page 8 for reimbursement type of transaction, only the person listed on this page is approved to receive the reimbursement. Make sure that you have the correct person who's going to receive the reimbursement listed on page 8. Just provide a general description of the items and make sure that your purchases kind of match that description of what you feel you're going to be requesting approval to buy, and make sure that the amount that you request is sufficient, because again, you'll only be reimbursed to the maximum amount that has been approved. If you go over, you will not be reimbursed for any amount over what was approved on your PO. So again, page 8, fairly explanatory. You can see what you need there. The process would be, you would request reimbursement type of transaction. You submit page 8 with the correct maximum amount for reimbursement on it. You'd submit that no later than Monday, 16:30. On Friday, 12 to 1700, you'd pick up the PO, the purchase order, authorizing you to go out and make purchases with your own money. Typically, that would be in yuan, is what this transaction is most frequently for. You go out and execute that purchase. The main thing you need to do is make sure that you get receipts from those vendors for those purchases. A lot of time this will be used at places like the flower market or Namdaemun or Dongdaemun or somewhere where they don't typically accept government purchase cards or government credit cards, government checks, and you have to pay in cash in Korean won, and you're looking to get reimbursement for that. You request in advance, you get the purchase order, that's your approval, then you go make those purchases, making sure you get a business card and a clear receipt. We need the vendor's name, address, phone number, email, that information, typically on a business card if you can get that from them, and then a clear, legible receipt. It can be in Korean, but it has to be clear and legible. Then you attach each of those receipts from each of those vendors, noting the vendor's name and the amount you spent on page 9. It's just a summary of what you got from where, with all those receipts, clear and legible names, addresses, phone numbers, attached with the clear and legible receipts. Then you log that back in and submit that along with your PO and the original POR packet. You submit that packet for reimbursement back, same process, on Monday by 16:30, and on Friday you can pick up between 12 and 1700 a check in US dollars that will be cut to you or whomever is requesting that on page 8 for reimbursement for those items. Now note, we are only authorized to reimburse to you at the approved government rate, which is typically slightly less than what is out in terms of the current market rate. So there's a possibility, especially on larger purchases, that you can lose a little amount of money in that transaction. So please be aware of that. And if it's unacceptable to you, don't utilize this type of transaction. Don't do that. Most people, for the convenience of being able to be reimbursed, typically in yuan, will go ahead, and if it means losing $5 to $10 on an average transaction, or even $20 or $30 on a very large transaction, that's just part of the trade-off for the privilege of having this sort of reimbursable transaction in yuan. But please note, it is possible to lose a little bit of money because of the exchange rate we're forced to use on behalf of the government. So that's POR, a reimbursement transaction, page 8.